Hey everybody, Coach Jason here. First and foremost, I want to say Happy Father's Day to all the dads, granddads, stepdads, foster dads, all the dads. Okay, Happy Father's Day to all of you. Okay, and I'm blessed enough to have three girls, got three daughters, and I'm blessed and honored to be able to celebrate this special day with you. So I wanted to say that first and foremost. Now, focus of the video today. So last video I put out kind of how to build out your summer training and start to infuse workouts gradually. So that's so you get to the point where you're fitter and faster and ready to race when cross country comes, right? Because we're in some basically summer base building phase right now for cross country. Those that coach cross country, and which could also serve a purpose even when you're training for a fall marathon. Because the majority of your running is going to be in the summer too, obviously with a little bit of a different layout, but it's for cross country coaches for the most part. So I want to do now how to add some creativity to the workouts. So last time, if you haven't seen it, I take the first 4 weeks. I'm using a 12-week block. Take the first 4 weeks to get up to your goal mileage, and I start to add strides and hills. And then in the next 4 weeks, and then the last 4 weeks, you start to add a little tempo and threshold and stuff like that into your hills. And here's how to add a little bit of more variety and creativity into these workouts. So the goal again, okay, is to add creativity to your summer workouts. And again, something you enjoy, something that's not crazy, but something that will get you to the point where you can add a little bit of cardiovascular if you want to add a little bit of volume in a way that allows you to get some quality and start to transition a little bit of volume and speed aerobically and anaerobically at the same time without taxing you. Because one of the things I've seen is a lot of people do too many workouts in the summer, and then they're kind of getting tired early in the mid-season, and then they run their best races mid-season instead of the late season. That's something I want to avoid. So this is why I'm adding this type of stuff here. So I'll pull the first slide up here. Okay, you've seen it. So early week. You're doing hills. We're using Tuesday, Friday as an example. And if you haven't seen the last video, go take a look at it because it'll make a lot more sense. So we're doing hills. Let's just say if it's 8 times 100 or 8 times 150 or whatever, we jog down recovery. Now what you can do is you can add an 800-meter tempo in the beginning of it. Okay, 800 meters, and what that does is it elevates your heart rate. Okay, helps you to maximize and transition easier into the hill workout, which is a lot bit more intense, a little bit more speed and leg power focused. Okay, so and you can even bookend it on the back end. So you do an 800-meter tempo after your warm up and drills and strides and whatnot. Elevate the heart rate. You rest 4 minutes actively, and then you do your hill workout. And then you can either do a cool down, or you can also rest 4 minutes and do another 800-meter tempo on the back end to help transition out of the workout. So the tempo in the beginning helps you transition in. The one in the back helps you transition out. So, but if you want to add a little bit of intense volume that isn't that intense, this is a great way to do it. The following week, I bump it up to a mile. So you're doing a little bit more tempo now. You do a mile. And what that also does is helps you to run these hills when you're slightly fatigued. That also simulates parts of races where middle of a race, you're kind of mildly fatigued and you're starting to get hills. This helps you transition and get ready for that type of stuff. So now you do a mile tempo at the same pace as you do the 800, as you do the 800. You rest 4, then you do your hills. Okay, and you can just basically incorporate this tempo into the hills of week 5 through 8 in the last video. And that'll make it a lot easier. So it'll be an 800-meter tempo, rest 4, 8 times 100-meter hill, something like that. Then a mile tempo, rest 4, 10 times 100-meter hill. Next up would be a mile and a half tempo. You're adding 800 meters to the tempo. Rest 4, I think it's 8 times 150 hill. And then week 8 would be a 2-mile tempo. You're adding another 800 meters. You rest 4. And these are all at the same pace. And then you do 10 times 150-meter hills. Okay, so again, you're adding tempo rather than having to do a lot of volume. This helps you do it and maximize the hill component. Okay, you do not have to do a 2-mile tempo on the back end. I would not exceed anything more than 800-meter tempo, no matter what's in front of it on the back end, if you decide to do that. But the tempos and then the hills, even if you sandwich that in between a warm up and a cool down, and this is basically weeks 5, 6, 7, and 8 of your summer-based training, it's a great way of adding creativity and variety to the workout. Now, next up, weeks 9 through 12, okay? Tempo run threshold, reps, tempo run threshold. And if you've seen my other videos, I'm a big proponent of 200-meter efforts in the beginning. What that does, okay, and again, this is after warm-up and drills and strides. At this point, you know what your tempo run pace. So now you're building towards, let's just say it's 2 times 10 minutes, tempo. And let's just say it's at 6 minutes per mile, arbitrarily. So that's 44 to 4,500, 44 to 45 per 200. So you do the 200s in the beginning at 2 times 200 with a jog recovery at 44 to 45. Helps you identify and lock into the pace you're running for the tempo. So then you're not having to use a chunk of the tempo to find the pace. So that's what they're for in the beginning. And again, then you can do the following week 2 times 200 jog equal again. Your threshold reps are essentially 5 to 10 seconds faster per mile than whatever the tempo is. So you adjust accordingly for the 200s, and you do 2 times 200 meter at the threshold pace. Let's say it's 5 times 1,000 here at whatever, 550 per mile, you adjust accordingly. Okay, so whatever it be, 42 to 43 per 200. So, and again, using 550 per mile pace here. So you 2 times 200 at threshold pace, your threshold reps. Let's hear it's 5 times 1,000, and then you cool down on the back end. You can do 200s on the back end too. That helps you transition out of the workout as well. So next up, week 11, 3 times the 200. You're doing just an extra 200 at the pace of the tempo run. So now week 9, you went 2 times 10 minutes. Now you can try to do 20 minutes consecutively at the tempo pace if you can. Okay. The threshold reps in between the tempo runs helps you transition towards the tempo run consecutively. So they're all with short reps. So 5 times a K is what a minute recovery. So it helps you get closer transition to the tempo run now. So again, let's just say the tempo is 6 minutes. Now you're doing 3 times 200, 44 to 45. Tempo run. And then on the back end, you either cool down or do 3 times 200 and a cool down. And then week 12, and you can modify this any way you like, but it's 3 times the 200 again at threshold reps. So now let's say week 10, you went 5 times a K. Now you can do 5 times 1,200. Okay, this is a good way of getting in volume without being invasive, without beating up the bodies. With threshold reps at 1,200, 75-second recovery. So you can do 3 times 200 at 42 to 43 per rep. Threshold reps again, 5 times 1,200 at 550 per mile pace. And then you can cool down on the back end or do 3 times 200 again, and then a cool down on the back end. The little stuff here, like the little 800 meter tempo reps or these times 200, help you add volume to a workout that doesn't need to be excessive volume at this point in the season. Now you're in the last month of the summer base training, so you can add a little bit of intensity. This is a great way of doing it. Okay, so you can do hills early on Tuesday and then this type of workout on Friday. And now you've gotten hills and threshold or tempo, which really, really sets you up nicely for racing without taxing the body too much. I mean, obviously, the races get more intense as the season gets on, but you don't need, at this point, you don't really need to do a lot of race pace stuff. You can, but at this point, too, what I do is, and you can modify this as you will, but I'd like to test my athletes, especially if they're high school, test them at a mile the week before you start cross country. What that does is it gives you your accurate mile fitness. And this is after 6 to 8 weeks or even 10 weeks of base training. And that allows you to set up your training paces for everything. Okay, and whatever you run for the mile, I've got videos on that too on this channel, so take a look at them. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, I really hope that you do. So I've got everything broken down that you can think of. You're a coach or an athlete. So 400 plus videos here. But the mile time trial helps you establish your current fitness. Okay, and you can set training paces for everything. Easy runs, steady runs, progressions, tempos, threshold, workout, everything. Speed development. That way you're training at the right paces. And you can do that for every athlete you coach. And then you can see, okay, this group is close. This group is close. You can make sure everybody's training with the right people. And that minimizes the risk of people getting hurt and sick, or even both at the same time. Because that happens too when people are training way over the head. Because sometimes, obviously, the goal of cross country is to get your 1 to 5 as close as possible, or 1 to 7. We can't force the back end to run, to hang with the front end. Okay, we've got to get them. We've got to gradually build them appropriately, and they will come close, okay, or closer if you're training them at the right pace range. So I hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions about it, reach out to me. Leave your comments here, okay? Or blackbeltrunningcoach@gmail.com is my email. We can break it down further. Do anything you like. I'm happy to answer questions. So have a great day, everybody. Happy Father's Day. I'll talk to you next time.